were paying us $12,000 a month. Our top price points now, it's 70-80% higher. We signed a $30,000 invoice paid in full.
We've added 53K MRR the last 6 months. We're only going to fucking ramp it up even further. What is good, agency owners? This is Jordan Ross, founder of 8-Figure Agency, where we make it possible for you to build a thriving, growing 8-figure business that does not need you in the operation to grow. One of our clients, Brian Stark with 100 Celsius, they're an email and SMS marketing agency for e-com businesses. Brian has had a lot of growth and success over the last 6 months, growing 53K in MRR. This year in 2023, the next 9 months, we're only going to fucking ramp it up even further, add another 50 to 100K. But Brian, for everyone listening that does not know you, what do we got to know about you and what's your agency?
I run a e-commerce email, SMS, direct mail marketing agency. Team of 8 globally. Got folks here in the US, overseas, Canada, Australia, all sorts of cool places. Our focus is on helping do what we call create engineered dynamic moments for e-commerce brands, using channels like email, SMS, direct mail to not only help them make a lot more money, but to create awesome customer experiences. We've got a lot of cool things. The last 6 months have been a real whirlwind. We've done a lot of cool new things. Working with 8F has been awesome. Dialing in our ops and a lot of stuff that's allowed us to grow and do some cool things in the industry.
Let's go back 6 months. Our first month with you, we started our first full month was in September of 2022. For those of you listening at the time of this recording, it's the start of March 2023. So I'm looking at some of the things we did with you, and I want you to reflect back on those first 1 to 2 months. I'm looking at, we had to create client reporting, a new model for your services, new newsletter for your agency, figuring out capacity, building out your fulfillment process, person fulfillment, your client roadmap, where the time is going. So we did more capacity, and then create trainings, clarifying who's responsible for what step. What were some of the things when you reflect at the start of this journey that started to put the foundation that allowed you to grow?
6 months ago, I was a freelancer and was started to make really good money as a freelancer. And then it was like, okay, now I got to hire people. Tried to grow the team, tried to take on more business. And then what ended up happening is I've got more overhead. I have more people. I'm still doing way more work. I'm still doing a ton of different things. And now I'm trying to manage a team. I'm learning how to do that for the first time. When we came to you guys, we were just really vague about everything that we did. We would come in and we were like, you're going to get a great email marketing system. We're going to help you make a lot more money. We're going to just take over your email marketing program, right? Which was causing all sorts of problems for us. We had massive scope creep. We were way over indexed on unprofitable clients. And so, yeah, just exactly like you said, we had to do a lot of work around just clarification, especially around things like our service lines, our scope, who does what we do, what we charge for things. That had a huge impact on our ability to control profitability, control scope, and even sign some much bigger deals than we were previously.
Let's just quickly recap. So when we met, you were still at the beginning, got a few team members. I remember you were working with an ops guy who ended up not being the best fit to help you scale. In this transition, I'm no longer a freelancer. I have a team, but this is my first rodeo in terms of me being an entrepreneur with my first agency. So there's a lot of ambiguities that's led to vagueness in our offer. We're overextending. We have some unprofitable clients. And when we started working with this layer, let's bring some structure to this. Let's rework the offer. Let's figure out what our capacity is, what we could actually allocate. Let's start building that templatized service, that workflow. And when we started doing that, it led to just more clarity on how you communicate with your clients, how you set clear boundaries. And did you let go of any unprofitable clients? How did that process work itself out?
We did, yeah. It was all of the above. And it was actually a pretty rough experience. We had a client that was our biggest client. They were paying us $12,000 a month. And yeah, we fired them.
Wow.
We parted ways. And when we were doing our time analysis and everything, we were probably spending 40 to 50% of our total time as an agency servicing that one client, which they're big, but not that big. They were also just kind of assets to our team. We really got clear, not only just scope and profitability, but a little bit more clarity on the types of brands that we do and do not want to work with.
It's actually not the most common work we do with our clients. So that's actually more of a unique thing, how we focus on where's the time being attributed for the whole business. Okay, we are not profitable for this client. If we drop this one client and get 2 or 3 more, we'll actually be able to have way more capacity, be way more profitable. Just on that one instance, looking back 6 months later, what was the result of dropping that client for your agency? Because that's unique. Not many people do that.
Freed up a lot of tangible and emotional capacity. So it had benefits across the spectrum. I think one thing it allowed us to do tangibly was we've been going through this gradual rebalancing of kind of some of these legacy clients churning out, bringing in new ones with a much clearer scope of work, much better expectations.
Is your price point higher too?
Yeah. price points higher. Much clearer scope, better expectations, focusing on more profitable, easier to fulfill type service lines as where we can, and splitting things out before it was all grouped together in a VEG. And then also the other thing too, is when you as an agency owner are willing to make some tough decisions, let go of a client that is bringing your team down, I think it went a long way for the team too, because they could see that I was willing to do something that was in their best interest and was putting them first as a team.
It creates so much loyalty. I could only imagine the amount of loyalty they now, if they didn't already feel it for you. We fired 2 clients in the last 4 months. And I remember the consultant that told me this guy sucks and I fired him immediately. He hadn't even been with us for like 2 days. It was the trust that I built with that guy was huge. We restructure the offer, we dial in our scope of work, we align with our time, our capacity constraints, we start to build our workflow, our templatization. And I heard a byproduct of that was you increase your prices. What percentage did you increase prices by as a result of being able to get more clear and dial this stuff in? Math, man.
Just about, probably, if we talk about like our top price points per client before, and then once we got really clear, scoped everything out, our top price points now, it's probably 70-80% higher.
Let's just kind of go open-ended, right? Over the last 5 months, there's been a lot of shit that we've done. What are some of the things that I haven't asked you about? Because we really only honed in on the first month or so. Since then, that you also built out that have had an impact for your business and have really allowed you guys to grow?
The service line work has been really impactful. And also, like, one thing that's allowed us to front load some money and improve cash flow has been introducing kind of like a prepay, like different options for more flexibility. Like, for example, we signed a $30,000 invoice paid in full this last month. 3 months brought forward with it for a 10% discount. So it's just like things like that, that once you get more clarity, you actually have a platform to be able to quantifiably price and do proposals. I think for like larger clients that are a little bit more upmarket, they like seeing that clarity and they like having the confidence that there's a rationale behind your price point. That's been really good. Man, some other things like really dialing in our front end offer and the fulfillment of that and mapping out all of the steps to actually fulfill that offer before we actually move to the retainer agreement has been huge. Because before, I was probably spending 15 to 20 hours every time we did one of these front end consulting offers for a client. It's like they're really valuable. Now we're down to the point where I'm probably spending 3 to 4 hours, and I'm trying to get it down even lower.
I love that. And just kudos on all of this. Being able to cash a $30,000 invoice is fucking nice. And now that you did that once, you can do it again and again. What do you think is going to be the impact of saving every time you bring on a new client? You're saving minimum, you just said 12 hours. Where is that time being reallocated? Because I think a lot of people sometimes don't really understand the value. I talk about higher leveraged activities. High leverage is I, as a founder, can go work on something that's going to make us more money or make us grow. Now that you're saving every time you bring on a new client 12 hours, where is that going and how's that going to impact your growth? And why is that relevant for everyone listening too?
This is the unfortunate answer, like recently, has been that time has actually been reallocated to our back-end service lines. What it does, it opens up our capacity for more new clients, because before we just couldn't legitimately bring on more clients. There's been a lot of times in the agency where just like, I would love to work with you, I just can't. Now with this front-end offer and having me out of the fulfillment largely for that offer, it's so much easier for us to actually bring on more clients. And then we can feather the transition to our ongoing higher ticket retainer stuff on the back end easier. A lot of the stuff that I'm doing right now is systemizing and templatizing and building out workflows and trainings and everything for everything on our back end. We can increase our capacity without necessarily having to proportionally increase our staff.
I think the game of running a business, it's constantly, do I need to get more leads? Do I need to increase my closing rate? Do I need to increase my LTV, or do I need to increase my capacity? That's it. It's those 4 variables. So you guys are in a stage where you're now working on increasing capacity. What are you actually doing though? Because I think people hearing that, there might be founders that are like, what does that actually mean? How are you doing that? So between you and Matt, for those who are not listening, Matt is the new COO of 8Figure Agency, and he's the consultant working with Brian. So that's when we refer to Matt, that's what we're talking about. But what are you and Matt doing, or what have you identified that is helping you do that?
One of the big things is just externalizing the specialized knowledge that I have, other people on the team don't, and creating frameworks for all of the core flows that we like, email series and flows and forms and all of those strategies. We're documenting that, creating trainings, and a lot of of what I'm trying to do too is just how do we take, if it took 5 hours to create a flow start to finish for a client or whatever, how do we get that down to 2 hours? Or how do we break it out from copy, design, QA? How do we at least rapidly do the copy, and what are the things that we can outsource overseas versus need like a native speaker? Really building out frameworks, trainings, and also you talk about this a lot, SOPs versus trainings. We've come up with a really awesome workflow for creating SOPs. I film Loom videos. We have a form that we set up internally. I just film a Loom video or anybody on my team walking through a process, throw it into a form with a little brief. It goes into an SOP creation queue, and I have an assistant that's trained and focusing on process documentation. And then it turns around and he actually adds it straight into our knowledge base. It's effortless. Trainings are a little bit different. I'm training him to do the process documentation for the trainings themselves. But a lot of it is like something's going wrong with the Klaviyo account. What do you do to fix it? What's the logical progression that you go through? And that's the stuff that I'm like working on documenting.
Yeah, it takes a long fucking time to build all of your trainings. And then a lot of times, sometimes you'll do a lot of time in trainings and then Klaviyo will change and now you need to make new ones. We're improving our service. So from when you joined 6 months ago, our price has increased by 33% too. So we've added more shit. And hey, shout out to you for getting that legacy pricing. When we do this, I have to make new trainings. And I think a lot of people think about, I want to systematize my agency, or as a listener might be thinking about, I want to grow this business into a fucking machine of an operation. There is so much time that takes into actually committing to do that. You have to make a lot of videos for the training for you, right? If this breaks in Klaviyo, what do? There is an if then. If this breaks, there could be 5 to 10 thens. Then you have to check this. You have to check this. You have to look at this. You have to review this. This might, there could be 20 different things someone has to do. And you have to build a workflow and training for each one of those it takes a lot of time.
What I've found is that any friction in that process of creating those and getting those documented and created, if you're on the hook to do it yourself, at least for me, it just wasn't going to get done. If you have a process to allow yourself to do that, it's worth the investment.
How do you think the accountability of ADAF and Matt specifically has driven, how do you think just the accountability and the presence of having a partner like that with you is impacting that accountability to do the annoying things? How is that impacting just your personal performance as an owner to work on the business and do the things that actually grow it?
I think probably like a lot of people that have that entrepreneurial itch, you constantly have new ideas. I think a huge thing that Matt has helped me with is staying the course. I find myself wanting to be like, how can I make this simpler? If Matt wasn't there, just being like, dude, that's a question for 6 months later. For now, just go build your freaking pricing structure. Take that next step. I think I would not be doing as well as, we are right now, and would be much further back in that process.
It's such an interesting thing because entrepreneurs, right? The most common entrepreneur, you and I share that same characteristic, is we see a million ways to make more money and optimize. Once you really fucking get it, which it takes a while to, growth is literally just staying on the same path, doing the same thing, getting really fucking good at it, not changing, not adding more things, not adding more features and benefits, getting really good at one thing, totally systematizing it until it's so dialed in. You have a funnel, closing process, fulfillment process, retention process. So you can now go build something else and that thing will continue to grow. I learned the hard way last year. I tried to buy into a second business last year, which was a shit show. And then I basically took that, I bought in and then I gave my equity back, but I didn't get a refund. I basically took that process in-house instead, but I was able to build a second department. So that's our Airtable department now. Everything was so streamlined and I didn't have to be putting a lot of time into the second department. So having a partner to keep you just on the path, all right, just keep doing the same thing. We'll talk about in 6 months and it will all work out. I promise you. Let's talk about the next 6 months. Where do you see your agency going in the next 6 months? How are you guys going to add another 50K in MRR over the next 6 months? What's the strategy and what are the things you have to build to do that?
We're making some awesome progress on capacity questions. So what we're going to be really focused on, it's been the weakest element of my agency so far, is a proper lead generation business, new opportunity generation system. We've gotten really lucky. We get great referrals. We do such good work for our clients. That's been the primary driver, but really filling our pipeline for our front end offer is going to be huge. We're going to increase the prices for that offer, continue making it the most no-brainer offer that any e-commerce brand wants to know how how they can grow their business with CRM marketing and create better experiences. It's already a no-brainer. It's going to be incredible.
And you're going to go on Twitter and post more. You had that one banger. You're sitting at nearly 1,300 followers. I'm looking at your first page. Head of growth at e-commerce agency, agency founder, e-com investor, founder of an e-com brand, founder of an e-com brand that has done $100 million in sales, founder of a $25 million e-com brand. When we dial this in this year, I think Twitter is going to be gargantuan for you. You have so many people that you could sell to or collaborate with for referrals. All you got to do is just put in the work, man. And I mean, dude, you have 1,200 people. You could go and just hit the DMs.
I think my tendency is helping with is like, bro, a lot of those problems are just going to get solved by more business versus feeling like you have to go spend all your time on fulfillment and operations.
100%.
I'm also have a couple like really great leadership folks on my team that were kind of one person stepping into a different role, more of like an agency director role for us coming up pretty quickly. And she's incredible. So just kind of empowering that leadership team and helping really get the fulfillment off my plate so I can focus on getting this out there more.
And we will. Awesome. So Brian, for everyone listening that's hearing you, they've heard your success, they've heard you've added 53K MRR the last 6 months. What would you have to say for those people that are considering and wanting to potentially work with 8F?
Just do it. You don't get extra points for doing this alone. And if you're not like tapping into the collective knowledge of Jordan and the team, they know what you want to do and they can help you get there. And it's super worth it.
For those of the listeners that want to follow you, get in touch with you,
you can go over, follow me. It's Brian D. Stark over on Twitter, LinkedIn, pretty active. The website is 100celsius.co.
Guys heard it here first. Brian, thank you so much, brother.